Hello, everybody. It's Loren Live back with you Tuesday night. We have about a week left, 6 days and counting, right? Next Tuesday, it's a big day. It's a day that we're going to turn this state around and bring back individual freedom and liberty to Washington State. You know, Washington's faced with a choice. What's your vision of how Washington State should look? Do you share Jay Inslee's vision of distance learning, living in fear, no choices for the individual and their rights, their God-given constitutionally protected rights, higher taxes, homelessness, drug abuse, riots, overpaid consultants, large fines for businesses just trying to survive, bloated budgets, destroying the economy, making you pay for a global consulting firm at $164,000 per week, losing billions in the unemployment scandal and denying nursing homes the funding that the federal government sent? Or do you want a governor who shares our vision of how Washington should look? Our vision is we the people vision, where the governor works for the people, is a public servant, not the public's master, where a governor understands the role of the public servant as outlined in the Constitution, where the governor will appoint people to head the state departments who share the same view. That government is put in place to protect citizens' rights, where the government actually helps citizens to succeed. Has Jay Inslee even asked the people what they want and how they can be better served by him? Seriously, post a comment on this in the comment section, but my team has specifically taken time to send out surveys and interview multiple people to figure out how we can help. Did you see the pandemic survey that we did? It was not too long ago. We sent it out to over 1,100 families and they responded. The results are insightful and they're tragic. Click on the link that is pinned at the top of this live. You can see the details there and what they had to say. We have got to stop this madness, you guys. Do you like what you have, or are you ready for something different? Are you and your family better off today than they were 8 years ago? Seriously, how are you and your family doing right now? We want to make a change and make a huge difference. Just ask yourself, or ask your friends, is your child's education better than 8 years ago? Are jobs at Boeing better today than 8 years ago? Are your taxes higher or lower than 8 years ago? Is Washington State budget higher or lower? Here's a hint. It's almost doubled in Jay Inslee's tenure. Is your small business better off today or 8 years ago? Are our state lands better managed than they were before? Is your farm better off today than it was 8 years ago? How about the homeless crisis that everybody talks about, which is mostly about addiction and mental health? Is that any better? How about the riots? Are there more riots and more civil unrest today than 8 years ago? Do you feel more safe today than you did 8 years ago? If the answer to those questions is no, then let's change Washington State today. Together. Let's lead Washington's comeback and send common sense to Olympia. We can do this. We are doing this. I am working my tail off for you, just like I will when I'm governor. I will work harder for you than anyone you have ever seen. That's a work ethic that I learned when I was a child, and it continued and followed me throughout my life. 59 years I've been on this earth. We can do this. Just make sure that you get your ballot filled out, that your friends get their ballots filled out, and get them turned in. We can do this. We are doing this. So, with all that said, I told you yesterday that I would look through some of the questions and answer some of them, and I'm going to do that tonight. I wrote some down. One of the questions was, will you continue to do lunch with Loren after I'm elected? And the answer to that is, I would absolutely love to do that. stay in contact with we the people is my goal when I'm governor. And I would definitely like to continue these. I don't know how soon after I get into office that will happen, but I suspect very soon. That's a very good thing that we need to do. So yes, I will continue doing lives, and we may even have some campaign stops for the next 4 years around the state. You never know. But I definitely want to stay in touch with the people. I want to be around the state visiting with business owners, visiting with their employees and all the citizens around the state, so we can keep in touch what's actually happening on the ground in everybody's lives. So thank you for that question. Another question was about property taxes. Yeah, property taxes, as everybody knows, if you own property, have been going up a lot. And the reason for that is we have a government that is out of control. We don't have a revenue problem for the state government. We have a spending problem. And once we get that spending problem under control and get our government back under control, cut the spending and get it back to where it needs to be. You know, we don't need a budget that's doubled in the last 8 years. We don't need to, 8 years ago we were spending 30 billion, now we're spending 60 billion approximately. That's unacceptable. That money comes right out of our pockets, right out of our businesses, right out of our families. And I believe that citizens know better what to do with their money than a government bureaucrat does. So we need to get the spending under control. Once we do that, then we can relieve taxes across the board. Another question. Oh, it was a comment about increased suicide because of the shutdown. Yeah, suicide has increased during the shutdown, not only suicide, but domestic violence and child abuse. There is going to be, I believe, a tsunami of child abuse cases coming as soon as these restrictions are lifted. Kids start getting back into school, and these cases are going to come to light. It's going to happen, which is very sad. That's one reason, as soon as I take office, that's the first thing on day one, I'm going to sign an executive order and lift all of the restrictions that Jay Inslee has put on our citizens and our businesses and our children. We're going to open up. We're going to go back to school. And we are going to return individual freedom and liberty back to the citizens of this state. We all know how to operate safely. We don't need someone in Olympia with $164,000 a week consultants telling us what to do. Okay, I might add that our rights don't end because there's a pandemic or because there's a virus or because there's a war. Remember that this is not the first time that a Democrat elected to public service has trampled on citizens' rights. In World War II, FDR put 120,000 Japanese Americans in internment camps, all for our safety. Yeah, that was overturned, and they were awarded millions of dollars because their rights were violated. People's rights are being violated right now. Jay Inslee has weaponized the departments under his watch, and they've been out fining businesses doing nothing more than trying to stay in business. It's absolutely unacceptable. Okay, another question. Let's see, election night victory party. Yes, we are having an election night victory party, and it will be in the Grand Mound area, just a little ways south of Olympia. Check the events tab, and you can get the address for that. I had a question about the Department of Corrections and how things are out of control with some things going on in the Department of Corrections. And I will let you know that I have already been talking to a very highly qualified person who I will not name yet until after the election that will help us get a handle on the Department of Corrections. And that goes with every department. All the department heads, I believe there's 24 of them, Every one of those department heads is going to understand that the government is here to serve the citizens, not to harass the citizens, not to find the crap out of citizens who are just trying to make a living, but to actually help the citizens. You know, I know because I ran my own business for over 20 years, right? After I got out of the military, before I became a police officer, I ran my own business right out of Olympia for over 20 years. And I know every time I had interaction with someone from the government, they were not there to help me succeed, you know, to help me to get to a yes. They were there to figure out how to get me to a no, how to shut me down, how to make it harder, and that's going to change. Our government agencies are there to help the citizens and help them get through whatever thing they're working through, whether that's a permit, whether that's paying a fee, whether that's an inspection. The people that work under me in the state government are going to understand that they are the servants of the people, not their master. And that starts right from the governor's office on down. So thank you for those questions. So like I said, I will work and am working harder than anyone you've ever seen. I'm working hard campaigning. We're doing rallies all the time. I'm doing these lives twice a day. I know I missed lunch with Loren today, but I was going over a pass, couldn't stop, and just had to keep going. So I will always try to do the lunch with Loren in the noon hour. I'll try to do it right at 12 o'clock. But I've got a lot of interviews, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. And tomorrow, just to let you know what's going on tomorrow, I'm going to, again, do the lunch with Loren. But I've got interviews. This is just tomorrow. So if you recognize any of these people or these stations, if they're in your area, be sure to show them some love, okay? So tomorrow I've got interviews with KCIS, Dory Munson, yes, Dory Munson, Ari Hoffman, Canary in a Coal Mine, KPQ, Lars Larson, and Jason Rance. Those are the interviews that are on my schedule just for tomorrow. So we're doing this kind of thing every single day, answering emails, messages, interviews, and we're going to win. We are absolutely going to win, and it's because of you. It's because everything that you have done, all the flag waving on the overpasses and the intersections, the sign waving, it's absolutely helping me to get the word out. We are going to win. We just have to keep working. We have to keep fighting. We need to fight like the soul of our state depends on it, because it does. The future of our state, the future of our kids, the future of our jobs and businesses depend on us fighting right up to the last minute. We need every vote. We need everyone you know. Make sure that they vote. This is not a spectator sport this time. We need voter turnout big time. And I just want to tell you all that I appreciate everything that you have done, everything that you're going to do up until Election Day. It's working. We're starting to, or we have been putting out the commercials that we're running on TV. We've been putting those out on our Facebook page. Be sure to check that out. Share those everywhere. Share them to groups that you belong to. Share them with your friends. Help me get the word out, because we are winning and we are going to win. We just have to fight right up until Election Day, and that's what I'm doing. And I appreciate all of your guys' help. We are going to lead Washington's comeback and send common sense to Olympia, you guys. I appreciate it very much. I want to leave you with a true story, that something that happened in my life that made me very, very proud to be an American. And I've ended some of my speeches with this story. And unlike a lot of politicians, when they tell you they have a story to tell, this one's actually a true story. So when I was in the military, I served in the military under President Ronald Reagan. And in 1983, I got orders to go overseas. I was sent overseas to South Korea on an unaccompanied hardship tour. And an unaccompanied tour means that your family can't come with you. I was stationed right up by the DMZ between communist North Korea and South Korea. And so my family couldn't go. I had married to Barb, had a 3-year-old son, Nick, and our 1.5-year-old son, Adam, and they couldn't go with me. So I went over to Korea, and this was a 1-year tour. And so I didn't see my family for 1 year. And this was back in the days before the internet, before FaceTime, before emails. The way that I communicated with my family was with a piece of paper and a pen and an envelope and a stamp, right? You remember back in those days? And it took about 10 days for a letter to get back and forth. I got one phone call a month to call and talk to my family. Other than that, I didn't see them for a year. But I was serving a bigger cause, right? I was serving my nation. I was helping to protect South Korea. But what happened when I was over there really touched me, and it touched me deeply. I remember it like it was yesterday, and I will remember this event until the day that I die. But while I was over in Korea, I participated in a joint military exercise. All of the branches of the South Korean military, all of the branches of the U.S. military did a joint military exercise. It was called Team Spirit. And all of the forces did this exercise all around South Korea. And I was in the Army, so we traveled in convoys, jeeps, trucks, loaded with equipment and GIs, and we would travel from one point to another on dirt roads around South Korea. And dotted along these dirt roads were little villages. And there were rice paddies, all around the villages that the people that lived there farmed for their food. And every time our convoy would get close to one of these villages, all of the people that lived there, little kids, older people, they would come running up to the edge of the road. They'd line up along the edge of the road as our convoy went through their village. And they would be standing there, like I said, older people, little kids, moms and dads, and they'd have big smiles on their faces, and they'd be waving to us with one hand, and in the other hand, they would have a little American flag. And I remember as we drove by in that convoy, seeing all of them lined up there, and that made me very, very proud to be an American. They didn't care what color our skin was. They didn't care our age, our education, or our income. The only thing that they cared about was that the people in those vehicles were Americans. And our country saved them from the communist North, and we were there to protect them from the communist North when I was there. And that made me very, very proud. Now we come to 2020, here we are, and the far left wants to divide us by those things, by the color of our skin, by our age, our education, our income. We can't allow that. We are all part of the greatest nation in the history of the world. People flock here from all over the world because this is the greatest nation. We need to remember here at home that it doesn't matter what the color of our skin is or anything else. We are all Americans, and we need to stand up and stand up for our way of life, for our state, for our country, and not be divided by the far left and the rhetoric. Because we are all part of one race, and that's the human race. So I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight, and I hope to see you tomorrow night. I'm going to do these every night at 6:30, as well as Lunch with Loren at noon. And yes, we will continue this after I'm governor. I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you, guys. God bless you and your family, and God bless Washington State. Good night.